There comes a moment, often quiet, often unexpected, when something in you stops bending. Not because you planned it, not because you finally grew brave, but because the weight of everyone else's expectations becomes impossible to carry one more day. It's strange how a single realization can change the direction of your entire life, that the people you've been trying to satisfy were never satisfied, that the approval you kept chasing was given and taken like a mood swing, and that the version of yourself you kept offering the world and was starving behind your smile. When that awareness starts to rise, slow, cold, undeniable, it forces you to confront a truth you've been running from. You've been living as a reflection of other people's comfort, not as the keeper of your own identity. And once you see that, nothing goes back to normal. People don't talk about the violence of self-betrayal, how every yes you never meant cuts a little deeper, how every silence becomes a burial ground for the parts of you that were too bold, too honest, too alive. You learn to disappear long before anyone notices you're gone. That's what caring too much about other people's opinions does. It trains you to abandon yourself in slow motion. You begin by adjusting small things, your laugh, your tone, your posture. Then it spreads, your choices, your style, your dreams. Until finally, you're living a life perfectly shaped to please everyone, except the one person who has to live it. But the darker truth is this: no matter how perfectly you shape yourself, someone will always disapprove. Someone will always misunderstand you. Someone will always want you smaller, quieter, easier to manage. You can carve yourself into 1,000 agreeable pieces, and still someone will say it isn't enough. That is the moment something in you breaks, or wakes. Because when you stop caring what others think, it doesn't feel liberating at first. It feels like a funeral. You mourn the old identity, the obedient version, the soft-edged version, the version that wore masks like second skin. You mourn the people who only loved that version of you. You mourn the life that was never truly yours. But in the quiet after the mourning, something darker takes root. Not bitterness, clarity. A clarity that borders on ruthless. You start noticing who drains you, who manipulates you, who only calls when they need their ego fed, who praises you only when you stay in line, who pulls back the moment you grow, and you stop giving them access. You stop apologizing for the space you take up. You stop softening your truth to protect other people's comfort. You stop holding back pieces of yourself just to fit into rooms built for smaller souls. This transformation frightens people, not because you've become cruel, but because you've become untouchable. They can no longer control you with disapproval. They can no longer manipulate you with guilt. They can no longer keep you small with their silence. And when the world realizes it has lost its influence over you, you will notice something unexpected. The fear that once ruled your life goes quiet, utterly quiet. You walk differently, not proudly but solidly. You speak differently, not louder, but with a conviction that doesn't shake. You exist differently, not to be seen, but because you are finally real. And this is the final truth, the darkest truth. When you stop caring what others think, you don't just reclaim your life. You inherit the one version of yourself that was never touched by their opinions, the version that survived beneath every compromise, the version that refused to die, no matter how many times you buried it. That version is your power, and once it rises, you will never be the same.